I want to say, before I leave this place, as it's fresh in my mind, something that was really nice. There was a vendor, and it's on video. One is a video that I posted that's a long, and then there's a live, where you'll see what happens in the second part. So originally, when I first walked in, um, he was unkind, let's say, and he had some. He talked some smack, and he was just saying some snide shit, and he had a ball python, which he moved away from me as if I was going to hurt it. And then, so I just turned around and walked away. And, I said some stupid shit, but I just walked away and figured, whatever, a dime a dozen. But then I was talking to a couple of buddies, and he came over in the nicest way, and he apologized, and he said, I've been talking, and I'm hearing that, there's another side to this. And he was talking to the guys by him, and that there's another side to this that's coming out now. And then he said, what he honestly felt, which I appreciated. He wasn't holding back. He was saying what he honestly felt. But then he listened to what I said, and I was able to say what I honestly felt. And then suddenly we're just talking about, we're two human beings talking about my health. And he honestly seemed genuinely concerned and happy that I was okay and at the show. And it goes to show, I don't know if this guy's some keyboard warrior and suddenly is nice in person. I don't think so, because he wasn't nice in person. He just said what he felt at first. He's entitled to his opinion. But what I so admire about him is that he talked to someone else about it, which I kind of wish people would do beforehand, but he did. And then he came over in person in front of other friends of mine, and he had the balls to do the right thing, and I admire that. And just, if I could say personally, if someone messes with me, and I've had people push me, I had a kid slash my tires, you don't know, but the moment someone says they're sorry to me for whatever reason, I barely remember what they did. I just remember this because it's so fresh, but it goes right out of my mind, and I immediately feel no hostility whatsoever. I admire someone that has the ability to take the high road like him. So, as far as I'm concerned, that was a very good experience. In fact, I would take that over someone that's, like my buddies, I know they're going to be cool with me, and everyone was cool with me. That just was the one thing that started out like it wasn't. But I would take that first, because that's he's almost like a new friend now. His name is Tristan, and he's a really good dude. And he was willing to listen. And that's what needs to happen, because now the tides are turning and people are realizing just how much the cops messed up, and they're realizing it, and they're in a panic. Not that I'm dying to sue anybody, but people are starting to see, there's 52 marks on my floor, which they used to kill 14 snakes. And that's just what I've counted. It got me very depressed, so I stopped counting. But there's at least 52. They didn't know what to do. They killed the snakes. So they said there's bad conditions. People blaming me. But now they're not saying that anymore. And the tide is changing. And this guy was willing to listen to that. And I so appreciate it, I don't really care much what people think when they're negative. I really don't. But when there's so many, it takes time to have to, ban, hide from channel, delete, all that stuff, because, and then they get mad that they're banned. It's an amazing thing. They feel they have the right to be in my chat group and to talk all this garbage about me. So, that I'll never understand. I have some ideas of my own as to why people act that way. But here, face to face, everyone here was very cool, very kind. But I also want to say, these weren't the people that were talking, all this shit. They weren't. These were people that just are very cool and genuinely concerned. And there were so many that, were on the other side. For every 10,000 people that are, that are not handlers, that have never posted a video, that have no idea what they're talking about, that are just buying wholesale what these cops are saying, there's honestly at least 1 million that are on my side. Now, would they be there were it not for these people saying this stuff? I don't know. Many would. My friends would. I'm blessed to have good friends, and they've all come through for me. But this was a very, eye-opening good experience, which, from which I learned something, and I'm embarrassed for why I came here. I came here because I was sort of looking to pick fights with people that have been talking all this garbage. I wanted to look them in the eye and watch them stare at the ground, which they always do, and say nothing and do nothing. And I'm embarrassed about that. I honestly am, because people were so friendly and kind and concerned, people that aren't even online, just people. And, all the guys and their families, it was just such a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect it. A lot, when all the people ask for selfies, that's not my favorite, I appreciate it. And they didn't want it in like a negative way. It's just that, there's a lot of them, and it's not my favorite thing. But, they were all very sweet and kind, and those people that ask for selfies, I love talking with them. I just don't like being in, I don't know. Anyway, that's just me being a jerk, but I really just want to say how much I appreciate that guy being willing to listen. He's the first one that I've seen in person. The rest are all online, and I don't even know if that counts. But there was something very special about this guy and his willingness to, right after having had this negative interaction, his willingness to, listen, and to listen with an open mind, and not just to me, but to my friends that were there. So, and they had something to say also, but things that were based on what they know, not what they had heard from some cops that just didn't know what to do and killed the snakes and started all these rumors. There were no charges brought against me from police. There would have been charges of abuse and neglect. There was no issue with people who were the apartment managers. They knew I had snakes. None of them were illegal. They knew they were well cared for. And then there is the fact that, people don't want to hear it, but I was only there for 3 weeks, and I'm still moving the snakes in. And people say they were in bins and not cared for. Most were not in bins. They were in tanks. And they took them out and they killed them all, including little babies that were camouflaged, that were bothering nobody. None of them were dangerous. None of them were sick. And if they didn't know what to do with them, let me just say, man, that's a disgrace. They should know. They should have procedures. These snakes are legal here. And if someone does get bit, they have to have some procedure, because 1 hour after learning about this, I could have had people there. The snakes were all very well known, and I know so many people. I could just put an ad in my own chat group with 50,000 people, and there would have been many people willing to take care of them. So this whole thing about not being able to find a place is nonsense. And the places that say they couldn't take care of them because they might be contagious, what, they don't know the most basic procedures about quarantine? They don't know that? What if it was a snake in the wild? They wouldn't know what to do? I mean, it's the same thing, except they weren't symptomatic of anything. It's just straight up nonsense, and you get sick of hearing it after a while. So, having been here and seeing the tides change, and listening to this one particular man, it meant something. It meant something, and hopefully people will start to learn. Even he said, I see the tides are starting to change now, but he wasn't aware of that when he first said it. He started to talk to the people around him. So, I don't know what has to happen. I'm not particularly interested in changing people's minds, but I do find it very time-consuming. But in person, the people here were wonderful. And these weren't the text, what do you call them, the cell phone warriors, the keyboard warriors. These were people who, weren't really involved in that. So it was just very refreshing and nice, and, I just felt like they genuinely cared. So I just wanted to say that, because I appreciate that man. His name is Tristan again. I don't know the name of his company, but he had beautiful snakes, ball python morphs, and that to me is courage. I felt like that needed to be said.